Hello and welcome to the first part of my epiphytic cacti collection. So today is rhipsalis, but we'll start not from rhipsalis, although you may know this plant as pseudo-rhipsalis ramulosa or rhipsalis redcora, due to the fact that it takes this beautiful red color in sunshine. But as you could see earlier, the proper name now is Gymnotia ramulosa. But I didn't include it in my first part about epithelium and Cereus, and the second part was about lepismium. And because it used to be called rhipsalis or pseudo-rhipsalis, I decided to show you here. And now let's start with rhipsalis. So I tried to put them in an alphabetical order of their names. So the first one, as you can see, is this little weirdo. The stems are all sorts of shape and form. Some are flat, some are three-angled or four-angled. It's quite funny looking rhipsalis. It hasn't flowered for me yet, but it put out quite a lot of new growth. And here it's a bit wet from rain. Now let's talk about Passifieras. So this one, I'm not sure what Passifiera it is. So there are a few subspecies, and they all have similar flowers. They are quite small, and this one is one of the biggest plants in my collection, and always flowers. You can see it's ripened and unripe fruit, and it's quite big. As you can see. So I wanted to stress that all the plants that you can see and the pictures of flowers, they are of all my plants in the collection. So not all of my rhipsalis flowered yet. If they did, I included the photos here so you can it may help you to ID your plants, so if you can see in a close-up what they grow like, what they stems like, and their fruit and flowers. So the next one, so-called mouse-tail cactus or Rhipsalis Passifiera subspecies horrida. So this one of mine may not look particularly nice because I've been fighting with mealybugs for some time now, but it's bouncing back. It produced quite a lot new growth and it flowered. So again, you can see it's small flowers and fruit. If it's just a single individual flower, you may miss it because it's really tiny and it's kind of green, so it may go with the stem, so it's easy to miss. You can see ovary is bigger than petals themselves, so it's one way of identifying Passifieras and telling apart from Rhipsalis teres. It looks spectacular when it's full of buds and flowers. I like this plant. It's just pretty that it's struggling with, as I said, mealybugs. So to combat mealybugs, I use rubbing alcohol and just dump the Q-tip, and this alcohol just dissolves the pest. The next Passifiera is Passifiera subspecies mauritiana. It's funny growing plant, and quite often it's labeled as Rhipsalis brucelli, which looks totally different, and I will show you in a moment. And the stems are quite thick, as you can see. This plant gets this nice reddish color in summer. Also, new growth may come out a bit red as well. And it flowered for me like mad this season in summer. So all my epiphytic cacti I keep in my potting mix of bark, horticoral sand, grit, perlite and pumice, and a bit of soil and active charcoal. So it's well draining. And in summer I put the plants out in a depultura light under the canopy of tree, or they are on the fence when there is morning light and in the afternoon there is shade, so they are not exposed to full light, full sunshine, because it would be too much, too intensive for them. So they like dippled light or diffused light. And in winter I overwinter them in the house, in the room, around 15 up to 18 degrees, and I water less than in summer. The next one is Burchellii. As you can see, it's totally different from what sometimes you may come across in shop. It's got really thin stems, so it requires, in my opinion, a bit more often watering, because it doesn't store water for as long as the other rhipsalis. It hasn't flowered for me, but it's got a bit similar flowers to this one, which is Campos portiana, and I love this plant. It flowers in abundance. As you can see, they are white with orange-red throat. Sometimes those flowers, they don't open fully, but I managed to catch a few photos of the inside. And it's just such a stunning plant when it flowers, and even if it's not in bloom, it's just elegant, long, with long stems. Oh, you can see here how pretty the flower is inside. And again, it's one of those spaghetti-like plants. So let me know in the comments if you prefer those thin segments rhipsalis or those which resemble more of leaves. I'm just curious. This plant is sometimes distributed under the name of casucha. And its fruit, as you can see here, it's yellow. The next one is this beautiful precise riscula. It's got quite characteristic pattern of growth, and I looked for this plant for a long time. Usually you can buy just a small pot of them, but I wanted a bit big, and oh my boy, it's huge. It hasn't flowered yet, and it always makes me laugh the way it grows with long stems which fork out into smaller, quite chubby segments. So I hope it will flower for me next season. It would look spectacular. It's just so funky looking plant. Beautiful. Do you prefer bigger plants or smaller? So here I've got two plants, one bigger, one smaller. Both are clavata form clavata. And if you look closely, you can see that its ends are quite kind of clubbed or rounded ends. I don't have another deliculata form. It's just this form clavata. And this plant loves being outdoors. So as soon as it gets spring and summer, I put it outside and just bounce back after winter, because I'm sorry to say, but in winter it doesn't look so lush. I keep it in the kitchen above the sink, so there is a bit of more humidity in the air, but it still doesn't like it. It looks a bit miserable. But once it's out, it just bounces back, and I hang it on the branch under the tree, so it's got this diffuse light, but still some stems got a bit reddish because of the sunlight. It hasn't flowered for me, either of them. So the next one is Rhipsalis crispata. This is what I received under this name from a line of This is Plants of Avalon. It put out new growth. It's a lovely, lovely plant. Now, here you've got Dissimilis. As you can see, the label says Lepismium marinerum, because this plant used to be called also Dissimilis from marinerum. But I find out that quite a few different varieties of Dissimilis were put under one bag of rhipsalis Dissimilis from Dissimilis. The same happened with Lepismium cruciform. So this one is budding, so you can see some buds there. Another one came again under the name of Rhipsalis Dissimilis, but it looks totally different. So who knows, it might be this Dissimilis from Dissimilis, or might be something different. I just need to wait and see when it starts to produce flowers. But it's a lovely specimen, all naked kind of stems, are kind of rounded, but also there are like four angles to it. Another one, again, it's Dissimilis from Dissimilis. And you can see clear here that it's one plant, but it's got two different looking stems. So some of them are naked, and the other ones have got tiny hair. It's just amazing. And this plant is flowering, so it started to produce buds end of November and throughout December. And I have to say that I think Dissimilis from Dissimilis has got one of the prettiest buds. Look how cute they look, red and coming out within this wool. It's just looking gorgeous. And here are the flowers. They are so adorable. So I'm still looking for another Dissimilis from Elephantiasis, I think it's called. Or I don't know if I pronounce it properly. Well, there's still quite a few rhipsalis missing from my collection, so I hope I will find those species. And I invite you to subscribe to my channel. If you press the bell button, then YouTube will let you know when there's a new video ready to be watched. And also, if you like this video and my collection, give me a thumb up and comment below, because all this activity helps spreading my YouTube channel on the platform to a wider audience. The next one is very popular Rhipsalis elliptica, and it turns red in sunshine. And I have to say, I really like the color. And now in winter time, it's December in the UK, it's starting to produce flowers. Or buds first. So my intention is to make a separate video about all those rhipsalis which are flowering for me in winter, so stay tuned. And it's very variable rhipsalis. As you can see, even on one plant you can see this sort of stem, and this one, they look totally different. So there's lots of variations of Rhipsalis elliptica. Like for instance this one, I bought it as Rhipsalis pachyptera robusta, but it turns out it's elliptica, just with bigger clades. And I put it outside in summer this year, and it's finally started to produce a new growth. Some of them looked really funny, and this is what it looks like now. And again, it's in buds. Just lovely plants, and how big those clades are. Just marvelous. Obviously now in winter the color is not as intensive, but it still remains a bit reddish. Now let's move on to the next rhipsalis in my collection. So this one is Ewoldiana. I've got two pots, one bigger, one smaller. So this one, this video was taken in late spring, summer. So as you can see, there's quite a new growth. You can see the difference in color. It's a bit more reddish. It's apparently to discourage any animals which would eat for new growth. And this video now, I made just at the end of winter. So this is another plant which doesn't like overwintering in the house. It prefers more humidity. But again, it was in my kitchen. But as you can see, still looking a bit sorry for itself, although it produced buds and flowers. And I have to say, although I love all my rhipsalis, this one is not my favorite. I think it might be at the bottom of my list of my rhipsalis. Sorry to say. It's got nice flowers though. And this is my other pot, smaller. And as well, as you could see, the first one was dark green, and this one is more light green. It grows relatively fast. Now, this one is came as rhipsalis grandiflora, but doesn't look like grandiflora. Maybe it's flacosa. I just have to wait and see what the flowers are. So it looks quite funny with those wool, with this wool. Now, this one was sold to me as flacosa. I don't know which subspecies though. Again, need to wait and see the flowers. In the description of this video you will find a link to a website called rhipsalis.com, where you can find the timeline when rhipsalis flower, also all the species of rhipsalis, including the old names, because sometimes we buy a plant thinking, oh, it's something new, but it turns out we've already got it just under latest taxonomy. So check it out, it's worth visiting this website. There are some drawings or pictures of plants, so it's really interesting. And when it comes to feeding, it's so I feed with half dose of recommended strength of tomato feed in summer, every second, third watering. And here we've got Flagelliformis. Unfortunately, it's not so readily available in shops, and which is such a pity. It's such a lovely plant, and again, it's this one which has got two different stems. So one of them could be with hair. They are quite thin, and so they are not prickly, and some of them are naked. And when I bought it, luckily for me, it was in bud, so I can show you its flowers. Also, some stems have a slight twist, so it's a really interesting plant. So if you manage to get hold of it, just grab it, because, as I said, it doesn't come up for sale too often. And even now in winter, it's putting out new growth, which is interesting. So now you can see those two forms of its stems. Now let's move to the next one. So here is grandiflora. So you can clearly see it looks totally different to the other one, which came as grandiflora. It's got like a matte color, and it's quite rough in touch. It has got new growth. So as the name suggests, the flower should be quite big for rhipsalis. Let's hope I will see it next year. Now, this next epiphytic cacti, it's Gobeliana, but you may come across quite often under the name of crispata, which is not correct name. Crispata has got more ruffled stems. So this one again in summer produced lots of new growth, but it didn't flower. So the flowers I'm going to show you, they are from the previous year. And again, white, smallish blooms. And here we've got a rhipsalis micrantha from a rhorium. And have a look at the stems. You can see they are like kind of ribbed edged or ruffled, whatever, for frilled kind of, if you like. And you can see flowers and fruit, what they look like. Oh, clearly you can see how the stem look like here, because I'm going to show you two other forms of this rhipsalis micrantha that I've got in my collection. And the berries. And here I've got two pots of micrantha for micrantha that you can see the clads are flat. And I'm going to show you a photo of flowers and also berries, so you will see the difference in the color of fruit. So when it comes to propagation, I don't really propagate from seeds because it takes such a long time. So I usually just take a cut, stick in the soil, and from time to time I mist the soil and wait for the stem to root. Unless it's rhipsalis paradoxa, which I root in water with perlite. So I will put a link to the video that I've made about it, because I find it that it roots easier like that than in soil. Obviously the best time to root stems is in spring. And finally the third form of rhipsalis micrantha, so it's Kirbergi. And I'm really pleased that this plant bounced back. As I explained in one of my previous videos, it's got some unsightly brown spots because it didn't like the change of the temperature. When I bought it in winter, took it from the warm garden center into a cold car, went back into the house, and I put it in a bit too dark spot, and it started to develop those marks, the spotting, and also started to lose some stems. But then I moved to a brighter location, and this year it produced new stems and also a few flowers, which you can see now. And also I've made a video why rhipsalis may lose its segments, so check it out. As you can see, the stems have got like 3-4 angles, so look totally different to the other forms of micrantha. And its berries. Okay, let's move to the next one. And again, totally looking differently, rhipsalis mesembryathemoides, or commonly known as bottle brush rhipsalis. Indeed, it's so characteristic that you can't misidentify it. And you can see here in winter it produced 2 buds, and the flowers are from the previous year. And buds are so tiny that they can be easily missed. And this summer I had to repot it because it already has grown. Now let's have a look at two forms of rhipsalis nymphs almondi. You can see clearly the difference in the thickness and how big the stems are. So first it's nymphs almondi from Megalantha. I call it weirdo because look how wonderfully bizarre growth pattern it has. And it's got those thick branches, and it produced for me only one single flower, and here it's already, the flower is spent, and then when it drops off it just leaves those big craters, which looks a bit unsightly, unfortunately, but well, this is how it grows. And also it's quite funny looking when it produces new growth, because the same like buds, the new growth just appears from underneath epidermis. It's like horror story almost. This one looks like a hook, and that one I will let you to decide what it reminds you of. And I also got a few stems to root. They rooted quite quickly, I have to say, and then I spotted something. I said, what's this? Is this some kind of pest? And it's a bud. It's just appeared out of nowhere. I didn't notice that developing like usually you can see, but this time I didn't see. The same applies to my bigger specimen of rhipsalis nymphs almondi from Megalantha. And the flowers are quite big for rhipsalis. Beautiful, and you can all see here how it just pops out like an alien. It's just funky looking, cool looking epiphytic cactus. I really like it. I like those freaky looking plants. So I'm hoping that next year it will produce even more plants, but I don't like those scarring that they have afterwards. And I can show you in the example of those rooted cuttings now, how, or you can see here how this scars develops. And here we've got smaller version, nymphs almondi from nymphs almondi. This one hasn't flowered, but it's got lots of new shoots. Nice looking plant again, reddish because this side was on the fence was facing the light. And again, when the new growth appears, it comes in all sorts of funny shapes, and it may form like a loop as well. Now this came as rhipsalis oblonga, maybe it's crispata, I'm not sure. Nevertheless, I really like its wavy clades, and they are quite big. Beautiful plant. The next one came to me as rhipsalis pachyptera, and I hope it is pachyptera, not another elliptica, but whatever it is, I still like it. And again, it's got this reddish color and big segments. Now let's talk about rhipsalis paradoxa, which you may know as well as rhipsalis paradoxa major, because this is how it's sold by traders. I don't know which species it is, no flowers yet, and I've got 3 of them. This one is my oldest one, and I moved it from my south east facing windowsill out into my greenhouse, and I didn't like it. It lost a few stems, and I potted with it a bit longer, and rhipsalis paradoxa, but still it didn't like the move or more sun suddenly. And when it's exposed to more sun, maybe you could see there was like a bit of a red edge. And here, let's compare so-called Paradoxa major, the Paradoxa that I've just shown you, to so-called Paradoxa minor, which is, there's no Paradoxa minor. I will talk about that in a moment. But you can see this oldest one, how big it was before losing some of the stems. And you can see kind of resemblance of the twist. That's why probably they were called to differentiate them like that. But this is not Paradoxa minor, it's Pachicoleonis, and this one particular is Catenulata. There's another one which I don't have in my collection. And this epiphyte loves being outdoors in summer. It just produced so many new growth for me, and it flowered for the first time with beautiful pink buds and flowers. But again, this is another one which leaves scarring after blooming. And this one can tolerate more of highlight. And again, then the edges may take this red color. When I put my plants outside, it's in springtime where there's no risk of frosty nights. So at night there is at least 8 degrees Celsius. But first I acclimatize by shading the plants. So I put fleece over them. Because they obviously are not used to direct light after winter. And so sometimes if the shade doesn't cover properly, there might be some sunburn on the stems. It's like a brown kind of spot. So I already made a video about advantages and disadvantages of taking your plants outside. So I will put a link above, so check it out. And here you can see the close-up of the red edge and the scarring after the flower. Now, another twisted a bit rhipsalis, it's Rhipsalis pentaptera. Look how funny the new growth looks. And some berries. This plant flowered for a long time for me, with quite a lot of blooms, which is always lovely. And I've noticed when it's producing buds, it also produces more of these sugar crystals. Also, when you've noticed this sugar, check for pests, because sometimes mealybugs may appear as well. And again, small but beautiful flowers. I just love rhipsalis. They all look so elegant with pendant stems. So I wonder what's your favorite one. Let me know in the comment section. Another of my favorite is this one, Punicidiscus, and this year it really flowered. It's another of those rhipsalis when buds and new growth appears or erupts from underneath epidermis. And if I remember correctly, the flowers have got a nice, pleasant smell to it. Lovely plant with gorgeous flowers. And again, you can see some scarring left after flowering. And again, it will turn a bit red when it's stressed by the sun. Okay, let's have a look at this one. This one was sold under the name of Flocosa, but it's not Flocosa. I think again it's Punicidiscus. I have to wait for the flowers to confirm its ID. Lovely long stems, which some fork out at the end. Nice plant. And this one, I think it's a cross between Nymphs Armondi and Punis discus. So look at the growth pattern. It's just amazing. Just spreads in every direction. It's got nice smooth texture to touch, and it takes reddish color, and some younger stems are a bit hairy. So most of the videos that I took were made in spring, summer, and this one I did now in December, and I've noticed some buds, so I'm really excited to see what flowers it's going to produce. Hope it will flower when I'm home, when I'm not away for the festive season. But I love how this plant looks, how it grows, and it's got quite a few area roots as well. Oh, you can see bud here again appearing from underneath the epidermis. Okay, moving on to the next one, and we have what I think it might be Occidentalis, which might be classified as cunata. It hasn't flowered yet, so I can't confirm, but it looks a bit like Gobeliana as well, but it's got a different shape of clades, as you can see, one long one and then those smaller ones. So it is kind of similar to Gobeliana, I think, but it's not Gobeliana. I don't think so. And here I've got two in one hanging pot, but they are in very separate pots. They used to be under Flocosa subspecies, but now they are on their own, Tucumunensis. And the other one is Petieri. Both they've got like this matte color and rough texture to touch, and they produce long stem and then fork out again. They are cool looking plants. No flowers yet. I got them this year. This one is popular and well-known Pilocarpa, and it flowers in winter time. And the flowers are gorgeous. They look like white stars. And this one is of my sentimental plants, because I got unrooted cuttings from my aunt, and cuttings rooted really quickly, and now it's quite big. It's not the bushiest one, but it's pretty nevertheless. Wow, I like it, and it can produce a few blooms, as you can see from one. Easygoing. I think most of rhipsalis are easygoing and easy to look after, apart from maybe those that I mentioned before. Now, this one is not a botanical name, Royal Tolkien. It might be some Pachyptera again, or just a kind of cultivar hybrid, I don't know. But I like it with its huge clads. So waiting for flowers. And here we've got Rhombia, another new addition, the same like this Royal Tolkien. And I was surprised to see new growth in December. So it's got a few new clads coming out. Lovely plant, cute looking. Now I've got only unrooted cutting of sulcata, so hopefully it will root. And moving on to the next one, it's Schäferi, which used to be classified under Passifera. To me it looks really like Passifera. The stems are similar, and buds and flowers. Well, it came as Schäfera. But here you can see, so this is supposed to be Schäfera, and here above I've got this bigger one, Passifera. So they look similar, unless they are both Schäfera. I don't know. Sometimes rhipsalis can look, some rhipsalis may look really similar. So going back to Schäfera, unfortunately this plant again is struggling with mealybugs non-stop. I can see mealybugs there. I changed the soil as well, I repotted. So maybe it likes rubbing alcohol. Okay, now let's talk about rhipsalis teres. So here is teres from prismatica. It's got those characteristic smaller stems, and all rhipsalis teres, they are so funky. They produce those long stems, and then at the terminal they produce even more stems. So you need quite a lot of space to grow them. As you can see, they spread themselves. And this one in particular flowered for me for the first time in autumn and now in December. Again, tiny flowers, and as you can see, petals are bigger than ovary. So this is the difference that I've learned from epiphytic cacti channel, how to distinguish between Passifera and rhipsalis teres. But I think teres as well, another thing which differentiates is the way how it grows. It's just funny. And also when the flower is starting to be spent, it just turns more yellowish. The next rhipsalis teres, I think it might be capilliformis, unless it's form teres, but I think it's more capilliformis. No flowers yet, but I guess they will look the same, like, or similar to those of prismatica. But you can see that there's a bit different growth pattern at the top. Just a lovely plant, hanging like that. Awesome. They always make me laugh how they grow. And finally, rhipsalis teres, but form heteroclada. So no flowers yet on this one, but it produces lots of new growth. They are just growing up. They are quite thick stems, and from the top, the more is growing. So it's just crazy looking plant. Just crazy. Well, that's teres for you, or Teresa as I call them. Oh. Okay. And the last plants are those that I don't have name. So I put just rhipsalis specimen. But look how stunning it is with its big clads, red margin or edge, and some of them they've got are really lobed and kind of wavy. So if you know what it is, let me know in the comment section. But I really love this plant. Oh, doesn't look beautiful. I thought it might be Pachyptera, but who knows. And this one came under this name, but I don't believe it is correct name. It maybe looks a bit like Nyssa mundi, I'm not sure. And last but not least, the final one, which hijacked another plant. So I rescued that from the other pot. And I don't know which rhipsalis it is. Nevertheless, it's growing nicely. So thank you for watching, hope you like my collection video, and I will see you next time. Bye!